Hi there, and welcome back to Before Dieting. I'm your host, Bronwyn Fletcher. When I was planning the Before Dieting podcast, I decided that every episode in season 1 needed to be bite-sized, just enough for women to fit into their busy days. I wanted each short episode to offer one new idea. Sometimes it's a fresh concept, a new insight, or even a major reframe that shifts how you understand what's leading to gaining or losing weight. Whatever the central idea in each episode, my goal is always the same, and that is to help you break into your own story and find the reasons permanent weight loss has eluded you. In today's episode, I want to share how the Waiting for Happiness project came about, not as an ad, but as a genuine account of the process and how I discovered it takes more than a single angle or a different diet to get anywhere near uncovering what really sits beneath an ongoing weight struggle. The project took years to piece together. It grew alongside my regular consulting work and required more than 1,000 individual conversations. These conversations weren't with faceless people in a survey. They were real women who were smart, capable, and had experience with dieting and what weight loss plans promised. Motivation wasn't their problem, but for as many times as they'd tried, things just didn't work out for the long term. Often their stories were raw, but they were always honest, and they were shared on a different level than probably a regular formal research study. But what I kept noticing was that the weight issues tended to fall into two main categories. Some women could lose weight but couldn't keep it off. Others were stuck, with their weight high only edging upward over time. Almost all of them thought the answer was simple: just find the right diet, get started, and the weight will drop away. That's the kind of surface thinking diet culture trains us in. But as a systems thinker, I knew it wouldn't get us to the root cause. The more women I spoke with, it turned out that every woman's story was different. The diets they tried were different. How they approached weight loss was different. The results from their dieting efforts, they were all over the place. Some had given up the fight, while others were still holding out hope for the right diet. What they did have in common was they all believed that finding the right diet was their only answer. The trouble was, no diet seemed to work for them in the way they were supposed to. So the conversation started to go beyond the numbers on the scale or what was written in their food diary. I'd ask about what they tried, what seemed to work at first, and the deeper reasons underneath each attempt. That's how the Weight and Dieting History program found its form. But I knew I needed to go back further. So the questions shifted again, from not just what diet are you on now, but how did you actually learn to eat in the first place? And I didn't mean as babies, but as kids when family rules at the dinner table set out exactly what eating should look like. I wanted to know what messages and rules they'd absorbed about hunger, about food's purpose, and about how to behave around food. So much of what shaped their eating came down to this family food culture. Some learned that food meant love. For others, food was survival or lifeline. Every family passed down its rules and its atmosphere, and those early lessons didn't just fade away as they became adults. They became the blueprint for how women interacted with food for years to come. It became clear to me that the reason each woman's food story was different was because every family food culture is different. Once a woman could identify these rules that were running in background, things started to shift. It didn't matter that she didn't know yet what to do about it, but simply having an explanation or a reason behind her eating patterns gave her some relief. But even with knowing the rules of a family food culture, I realised that just knowing where the rules came from wasn't enough. I needed to know how these rules were enacted in their day-to-day eating. Most women only divide their eating into two broad types: regular eating and dieting. If I did a little bit more digging, some would talk about comfort or emotional eating, and occasionally I would hear the word binge. But those labels kept everything locked up and at a distance. I needed to break things open. I mapped out 8 types of eating, from the basics needed just to keep your body alive to ways food gets used for stress and emotion. What emerged was the old childhood rules were at work not just occasionally, but in every meal, every snack, and pretty much every eating decision. These 8 types of eating became the core of the Food Choices and Eating Patterns program. Here, women could sort their eating honestly with no blame or shame, but just understanding. Seeing the full system in real life, not just in theory, gave them more levers for change. What I discovered in the development of the 3 programs is, yes, it is still about what you eat and how much, but it's also much more complex than that. But trying to change what you eat with a diet before you understand your backstory, and particularly that family food culture, it will have limited effect. Which brings me back to the purpose of this podcast. By giving you the history of the Waiting for Happiness project, my intention was to give you a clearer sense that weight loss is not a simple matter of grabbing a diet and getting on with it. It's more complex. And by knowing your food history and exploring it through these 3 lenses, it will open up new possibilities for real and lasting change. Thanks for listening. I'm Bronwyn Fletcher, and you've been listening to Before Dieting. See you in the next episode.